Big breaking news of the morning. Joe Biden has been challenged to do something, and apparently he's got something he's going to do. He is set to announce later on today that the US is going to be banning all imports of Russian oil. Also, bear in mind natural gas and coal. It's pretty all-encompassing when it comes to fossil fuels, but the oil is the part of it that a lot of news coverage is focusing on. All of this, of course, is coming as a response to the ongoing invasion of Ukraine by Russia, the devastating, war crimes that are being committed right there. So this is what Biden wants to do. It is seen as an extension of the economic sanctions, that angle of the diplomacy that we've been engaged in for some time. It's obviously a massive industry for Russia. Not the biggest for us in terms of imports, which we're gonna get into, but there's some important details that you need to understand to get how this is likely to work in the future. The US is banning those imports. Top European leaders, though, say that they recognize the need to reduce the continent's dependence on Russian oil and gas, but ruled out an embargo for now. And the quote unquote experts say that while we can easily weather cutting Russian oil out of our domestic consumption as of right now, the Europeans cannot. Maybe something to work towards in the future would be my advice. But also bear in mind that this is not just happening amidst the war in Ukraine, it's also happening amidst a massive rise in the cost of gasoline. It actually hit a record high on Tuesday, $4.17. That is not, by the way, adjusted for inflation. Technically, if you adjust it for inflation, July 2008 had almost $5.50 a gallon gas nationally. So these are the two big aspects on this, and there's so many other angles. But David, I'm very curious what you think about Biden's move here.
I think it's a smart move. I think the United States, there seems to be bipartisan support for it. It seems like something of a no-brainer because, as you mentioned, it's going to hurt the United States a bit less than it would hurt our European allies. And the fact of the matter is, Americans are just outraged by everything that they're seeing, all the Russian lies, all the propaganda that Vladimir Putin's engaged in. Americans are increasingly infuriated, and I think most Americans would say, if I have to pay a little bit more at the gas pump right now in order to support US policy towards Ukraine, I'll do it. The one fear that I have is that I don't think a lot of these gas and energy companies are the best, most honest sort of brokers. And I fear that a lot of them are gonna price gouge. They love the fact that oil prices are going up and that they will take even greater profits at a time of reduced oil supply. And so I wish that our administration, the US government, was spending as much time focused on US energy companies and making sure they don't price gouge.
Yeah, I think you're definitely right. I mean, we've seen that already in a number of different industries. We're being told like, hey, inflation is just a natural thing. We have nothing to do with it, but they're making record profits as the prices go up. So that always feels a little bit weird. We could definitely see that here. There's almost a guarantee to be a version of that in that gas prices were already obviously going up. I mean, they're at a record high today. The ban hasn't even gone into effect. It'll be very easy for people to use this ban, I think shorthand wise, to imply that this is a significant reason for the increase, even if it ends up not being a big reason. I mean, overall world instability, fears about Ukraine, as well as ongoing supply chain issues seem like better proximal explanations for record high gas prices, but I wonder how that'll shake out. I do know internationally, David, your point already potentially being proven. OPEC, sources inside of OPEC say that they're not to blame for the surge in crude prices. Well, but they're the ones making the money off of it. I love that they would put out a statement like that. Why the hell would we trust that? You have raised your prices. It ain't on us that we're doing this. Well, who else is it on exactly then, OPEC? I don't understand who else could be responsible for that.
And that's why Joe Biden's heading to Saudi Arabia, because he's trying to convince the Saudis, hey, you need to open up the spigots, have more supply. But the fact of the matter is, Saudis, the Kuwaitis, the Qataris, they love it when oil prices are high and when demand is tight because they make even more money. And there's a great incentive on their part not to do as the Biden administration wants and put more oil supply across the world. They don't care so much about Russia and Ukraine. They just simply want to maintain their profits, record profits that they're making right now. So it's a tough, and I think it's wise of Joe Biden to plan to go to Saudi Arabia and to actually make a personal visit to the emir there to try to say, okay, we need your help. But everybody should keep in mind that OPEC loves the fact that these prices are high and that oil is so tight right now.
we're going to return to one of the points that you made there in just a sec. I do want to throw out there additional reasons that gas prices are going up. The Axios is pointing to the relaxation of COVID restrictions. I don't personally believe that there have been much COVID restrictions for quite a while, but there have been some that have been relaxed, and I think it's entirely possible that some people are feeling more relaxed, going out more. That is going to naturally drive up demand, so that is going to contribute to prices. But I also want to put this in perspective. How significant is this from the American point of view? Oil from Russia, as of right now, accounts for roughly 3% of our US crude oil imports. So that is not even 3% of our crude oil use. That's the crude oil we import internationally. And in fact, you can compare how significant Russian oil is. If you take a look at this chart, you can see that it does vary over time. But Russia, Saudi Arabia, Mexico, it's not super significant there. Other countries have largely been going down. Canada, as a percentage internationally, has been going up. So I don't generally think when we talk about oil, aside from some of the discussion over pipelines here domestically about the influence of Canada, but it is definitely going to have an effect. If oil, international oil sales are incredibly important for Russia, but it's not a massive thing. I don't expect this to single-handedly accomplish much. It is, however, coming amidst a number of other economic sanctions.
And I love your discussion of economics because, as you point out, when the US economy is doing well, which clearly it is, industry is more productivity, there's a greater demand for energy. And Americans, whether it's because COVID is over and people are traveling again and industries are bouncing back and factory orders are up, the US economy is heating up right now and it needs more energy to supply that. So that's one way to look at oil prices. I know a lot of people are gonna look up and say, oh my God, sticker shock in terms of the price of gas. But you know what? The price of gas goes up anyway this time of year as we get through the winter time and head towards the summer. And whenever the economy starts to go into overdrive, as the US economy has been doing, gas prices go up. So yeah, to your point, I don't think people should blame the Biden administration cutting off Russian oil for gas prices to go up. But that's not the point. That's not the reason he's doing it. He's doing it to try to put some more pressure on Russia in terms of stopping their invasion of Ukraine.
Mm-hmm. And amidst it, you already alluded to one of these, cozy upping in some ways to a couple of other countries that can potentially replace this. You referenced there Saudi Arabia. So yes, they're apparently going to be doing something with Saudi Arabia to try to ease it. New nuclear deal potentially with Iran, potentially giving Tehran the ability to ramp up its oil exports. There's been talk about changing our position vis-a-vis Venezuela, and I get it. I get why they're doing that strategically. I would like to just point out, as we have many times, like if the whole issue is that the world is experiencing chaos due to this authoritarian leader invading another country, committing these atrocities against civilians. We have come together as a world against this, and we are gonna stand against it. And then we're gonna go and hang out with Saudi Arabia, who is prosecuting an absolutely barbaric war as we speak on Yemen. Is it really, are we just playing like musical chairs with authoritarian leaders who produce oil these days? At what point can we take seriously the admittedly difficult and time-consuming challenge of not just like increasing our domestic production of oil, but really changing our approach to energy generation and consumption, really stopping our need to switch which dictator it is that we're working with in any given decade? I find that frustrating, David.
Well, and you just put your finger on one of the difficulties that the United States has now with Saudi Arabia, because at the same time the United States is asking Saudi Arabia to increase oil production, we can't then go there and say, okay, you need to stop your support of this war against the Iranian-backed militias in Yemen, and you need to stop the blockades of Yemen, which is not allowing humanitarian supplies come in, because they don't want to hear it. They don't want to be confronted on what's going on in Yemen. And so it becomes, we have to sort of pick and choose. Is it more important right now for the United States to get Saudi Arabia to turn on their spigots and produce more oil? Or is it more important for the United States to get Saudi Arabia to scale back their invasion of Yemen? You can't have both. And I think that's where a lot of progressives need to be sort of mindful of that. There's some things the Biden administration may be doing that make sense in terms of trying to put pressure on the Russians and make sure that oil supplies around the world are there. But there are other things that they're cutting themselves off from.
Yeah. Exactly, and potentially going directly against things that they've said. Biden said he was going to turn MBS into an international pariah and fundamentally change our relationship. Well, how long did that last? So disappointing. Not like I'm expecting massively left moves out of the Biden administration, but it's been particularly disappointing when it comes to Saudi Arabia.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.